Okay, we're here at the Northey Street Market, and I'm here with Fran. Welcome, Fran.
Thanks.
It's great to have a little. We're going to get some awesome insights on the movie Food Inc., which we recently saw just a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get Fran because I think she's great in the area, and she has some awesome insights on any topic to do with health, and living a more organic life. So Fran, why don't you give us a little overall impression of the movie? And now, if you haven't seen it, we're going to share some insights, and hopefully we'll get you to see it. But Fran, tell us what you thought of the movie.
I thought the movie was really, really great. It was excellent, and it's definitely one that I feel that everyone should see. The biggest thing I think the movie tried to portray was where our food actually comes from, because often we're completely unaware. We get this food from the grocery store or the supermarket, we buy it, and we have no clue at all where the food comes from. And often we actually think, and this is what the movie kept saying, the milk comes straight from the dairy farmer, or the meat comes straight from this very glamorous, beautiful farm where the cows are happy and the chickens are happy. And the movie was telling us that that is not always true.
Absolutely, and it was kind of like an expose of some of the really naughty things that the big corporations do,
Yeah.
For profit, but they don't necessarily care about how things were prepared or things, the kind of stuff that they put into the food that they produce.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, and it is often for profit, and unfortunately that does come into the whole greed thing. And yeah, it means that the animals suffer, it means that the environment suffers, and also our health as well, because we're not getting the best food.
So let's talk specifics, Fran, in terms of some of the actual shocking images. I mean, we were talking a little bit before about some of the things that really hit hard during the film, and what were some of the things that you saw that you just went, whoa?
Well, I tell you what, I was so happy when I was in the documentary that I'm vegetarian. I was like, oh, phew, I'm vegetarian. I had to shut my eyes a few times as well. The images did show a lot of the factories where the animals are killed and then processed, I guess, and those images were quite shocking. And also some of the places where the chickens are raised and bred, and people were going in there and getting the chickens. And also this weird thing where the baby chickens were on conveyor belts. I don't know what that was for. I think it was when they hatch and then they... Yeah,
because I mean, a lot of the chickens, they never see daylight. That's one of the things that
shocking, absolutely shocking.
It blew me away. I mean, they just sort of raised purely to be steroided up and hormoned up, and
they can't walk.
They can't walk, and a lot of them have their guts falling out, and it's just I mean, imagine that sort of stuff being pumped in the chickens, and then that a lot of that stuff then just gets passed on to the consumer. It's
really important though to note that this is not a documentary that's trying to get everyone vegetarian, even though I said, well, I'm so happy I'm not vegetarian. You're not vegetarian at the moment, are you?
I'm not at the moment.
Not at the moment.
But this is exactly the kind of thing, the movie that would educate someone like me.
Yeah.
And this is exactly why I'm talking to Fran. And move me in that direction.
Yeah. But I do have a friend who isn't vegetarian. She has been in the past, but she isn't. And I asked her yesterday, I said, did this documentary make you want to be vegetarian again? And she said no. And the reason is because she gets her meat, she only eats a very, very small amount, and she gets it from organic farms. So she gets it where the animals are treated very well and they're killed in the most ethical way possible. So for her, she still understands the process of how they're raised and how they're killed, and she's prepared to eat the meat, even though it's killed an animal. But for me, I'm not actually prepared to do that. So everyone's different. So I'm not saying, this documentary is not saying that you need to be vegetarian, so don't freak out if this is you and you're saying, I don't want to give up meat. It just means that instead of getting your meat, say, from the grocery store, have a look and see if there are any organic suppliers of meat or local farmers.
Or even like a place like Northey Street, where we are right now, sells, organic chicken and meat, that you could get. So
yeah, Northey Street is the local organic farmers market that Western and both love coming to once a week.
It's a ritual for us.
Definitely, yeah, definitely.
So Fran, for people looking at watching the movie and wanting to take away some key things that they can start applying into their lives. Like, for example, my partner was saying, for example, that when she goes to Coles now, she's much more aware of, well, firstly, she doesn't want to go in there, but if she has to, then she is much more aware of where they're coming from. She starts to read labels
Yeah.
and looks for little things that she can apply into her own life. So what were some of the takeaways that you could give the audience to
Okay.
start applying?
Definitely find a local market near you, because if you find a local market, then you know you're getting the food probably directly from the farmer. Sometimes there is a middleman, so you're not actually getting it from the farmer, but it's much closer and it's not going through a massive corporation. And you know that the farmers are treated much better when it is from a local farmers market as well. So something like this, where we're coming to today, getting the food really, really fresh, becoming aware as well of where the food comes from. If you eat meat and if you eat milk and you eat eggs.
So educating yourself outside of the media.
Yeah, asking. Like I still eat eggs, and when I buy my eggs here at the markets, I ask how the chicken's doing. And they tell me, they've been running around and they sleep in trees, and it's just good for me
You won't be able to find that at Coles, would you, Fran?
No, you absolutely would not. If you ask
I might try it, though. I might ask the checkout chick how the chicken...
Coles, for our American viewers, is our grocery store. We've got 2, Coles and Woolworths. So for me, I haven't actually shopped at grocery stores for a good 2 years, and there's a good reason for that, because I can get all my food at farmers markets and health stores. And I know that the big corporations are often very unethical. I can't give a blanket statement here, because sometimes they may have good practices, but I know that I'm definitely getting a much greener and a much more ethical business at the farmers markets and health stores.
Although I read recently, Fran, that Walmart, which is one of the biggest chains in the States, is taking on a lot more organic lines. So they're listening to their...
It's difficult as well, the US in comparison to Australia, because in the US the organic certification is not very strict and it's quite corrupt. We're really lucky here in Australia that we have very strict rules, and when you buy something that's organic, whether it's at the grocery store or whether it's at a market or a health store, you know you're getting organic. So much easier for us, not so easy in the US.
Interesting. So with regard to that, it's difficult for someone to, like, how someone just off the bat who isn't as educated as you, it would be very difficult for them to know those kind of things. And that's one of, why I guess we're also promoting getting educated more about your food and where it comes from. And I mean, on that topic, I was going to ask you, Fran, what are some of the other maybe documentaries or people that you follow that people can maybe get educated? I mean, you tell us about some documentaries before that people can go along and learn more about the process of how food is produced and where it's come from.
Yeah, there are a lot out there. There's heaps and heaps. Food Matters is a great one that I absolutely love. It doesn't particularly tell you about where the food comes from, but it's a lot about the health, and I think that helps. The Future of Food is one. There's loads. Yeah, I'll have to include a link under this video on my blog, and
absolutely,
if you're going to post it somewhere, I'll give you the list as well of videos. There's heaps. I don't know, Food Matters, foodmatters.tv have got also a huge list of documentaries actually on their site that you can watch. There's lots, and they're all really super interesting to watch as well, and it's great to get that education to become aware. I'd also love to point out another thing is the question you asked before about what we can do. Every single documentary, health lecture, spirituality lecture, everything always points to one thing, and that is grow your own food. Everything points to that, so we really need to start doing that. We're sitting in this amazing permaculture garden today, which is something that's way better than I could possibly create at this stage of my life.
It is.
My
and we've got some bush
terrible.
turkeys having a fight before, so
yeah,
we're glad it hasn't pooed on us just yet. But,
yeah. Even if it's just herbs, a bit of parsley, a bit of basil. Basil is so easy to grow.
It's a great idea.
Just getting them in pots if you're in an apartment, or getting them out into the garden if you're in a yard. Even things like aloe vera as well. You can eat aloe vera, you can use it on your skin. Just anything, get out in the garden and just, even if it's just one thing, learn to master growing one thing. It's really important.
We're going to take that on board, for sure. I also wanted to ask about one of the principles we talked about as when someone's going to watch a movie is a lot of them already are aware of this, and they're kind of, they've embraced living a healthy life and organics as part of their lifestyle. But for your audience, Fran, people who are kind of just discovering this kind of thing and are maybe a little bit too scared to go watch a movie like this because they don't want to get converted the other way. What kind of advice would you maybe give them to take maybe baby steps instead of being exposed to these massive scary images all in one go?
How I went vegetarian was, and I'm not saying you need to, but I transitioned into health over many years, and I stopped buying meat at grocery stores. I only ate meat when I was out. Then again, my friend who still eats meat, she decided that she wanted to only eat meat that was a bit more ethical, so she stopped buying grocery store meat and she only bought organic meat. So that's something you can do. You don't have to completely go crazy and build a veggie garden, become a vegan and just never walk into a grocery store ever again. You can just do little things like only buy organic meat, or maybe just go to a farmer's market once a week and have a go and see what really fresh produce you can get there. Something like that.
Cool. And now I just want to ask you, because, you know, let's face it, organic food isn't the cheapest food out there, but it's obviously very high quality.
Yes.
And like, for example, my partner again, Ali, was saying that she paid $20 for a chicken, but she made it go a really long way, and we actually used it for a lot of different beautiful recipes that just tasted, you know, delicious. So for someone who like yourself, who has educated themselves in how to prepare and cook beautiful, fresh organic food, you know, what kind of advice would you give to people who are kind of blocked by that, you know, it's like 10 times the price mentality? Well,
the amount of money I spend here at the organic farmers market every week fluctuates really a lot. Sometimes I'll spend $40, sometimes I'll spend $110, and it really depends on what I'm buying, and I know now what the cheap stuff is. So if I'm buying the basics, like carrots and lettuce and tomatoes and celery and those real basic things, it's going to be a lot cheaper than if I'm buying a whole heap of berries. Berries somewhere like Canada is going to be quite cheap because you can get heaps of them for hardly anything, and wild berries especially, but here in Australia, very expensive. So you can really be wary of the sort of organic foods you're buying and get the cheaper ones in comparison to the more expensive ones. And spending $40 on organic, a big bag or two big bags of organic food a week is not very much money at all.
Absolutely. And you know, that, you know, if you learn how to make it last and cook recipes that you know, you can intertwine with other foods, and know that it's kind of like peace of mind for people, that to know that they're putting good fresh food into their bodies, and even though, you know, you might be on a budget with regard to food, you know, you're going to be sleeping well at night, as opposed to, you know, some of the chemicals that we saw in the movie, some of the hormones and estrogens, and I think in one of the burgers they were putting ammonia to stop E. coli. Ammonia is, you know, a massive toxin that you know, you could start rubbing burgers in your hair and bleach it. Was my initial thought. It's the last time I go to get my hair bleached somewhere else, I'm just going to buy a burger and rub it through my hair. But, you know, to pay pennies on the dollar for food that is going to poison you effectively, you know, is really a call that you've got to make.
It also depends on your values as well. I just decided I wanted to buy everything organic, and I just did it. And even when I've had really been struggling with money, I've still bought organic because that is one of my top priorities. People spend a lot of money on a car, a lot of money on clothes, a lot of money on going out or a really nice dinner, but they'll put food right down low as the lowest priority. So you need to really put that priority up higher and invest in your future and invest in your health, and consider that buying this organic food is putting much less toxins into your body, less toxins into the environment, and definitely a huge investment in the future of your health and longevity too.
Wow, beautiful. Well, Fran, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you this morning. I know you've got to run off to another convention to do with farming and looking at local farms, which is fantastic, and I hope she brings the camera along and records it for us to have a look at. But thanks for sharing your insights on Food Inc.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah, hope you enjoyed it and learned something.